Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Mad Gains Live in Vivo. Welcome. I'm so excited. It's Friday. We don't have any music because I'm lame and I forgot the music, but I am going to show you guys something. My new t-shirt. Can anybody see? My hair is right in the way.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like my new favorite Mexican group. And apparently I bought this t-shirt and it's like wearing Michael Bolton on a t-shirt for Mexicans. So now I love it. Because who doesn't like Michael Bolton? Today we are talking about raycons. I have a dream team lined up for you guys. I know that a lot of people just, shoot out the raycons quickly with their software. Maybe they have a spot where they can add in some extra notes. But this discussion needs to be talked about because there are a lot of y'all out there that are just fucking typing and just adding everything in the mother into these raycons. And I want to talk about it because there's a legal implication, but there's also a culture and a relationship implication between you and your carriers. So we got Ignacio in the house. We have Vitaly here. We have Karina. Who else we got? We got Peter. Look at all these folks. Devin, David, Scott. Welcome to Mad Gains. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy New Year. All right, let's do this. I'm going to introduce. Wait, no. First, we have to talk about our sponsor because y'all know my favorite factoring company is OTR Capital. I view them as like a family to Mad Gains and Madtropolis because they'll take care of you. There's no hidden fees. They treat you like a family. They do your back office. And I think they do something. Ask them about how they can help with your rate con management, especially if you're a carrier. So now let me introduce you to my dream team, which is Chris and Adam. I can't believe I haven't had you guys on in the past together. It's weird. So we have to do this. We have to make this like a thing, the two of you.
Yeah, of course.
And make it a topic. So, Chris, introduce yourself to those very few people who do not know you.
I am Chris Jolly, a.k.a. the Freight Coach, and I'm coming here for another episode of Mad Gains. It's a pleasure to be back. I'm a 15-year industry veteran. I've been in brokerage for about a decade now, and it's just my company's passion now to right this industry and make it move forward in the right direction. So
I love it. Adam, where are you right now? You're always globetrotting on me.
Hey, I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina today, man. It's really, really sunny outside if you can't already see it. But, this is a dream panel to me, man. Chris is my guy, man. Me and Chris have had some great times over the last, 6 months. It's been just an absolute, just like a joy just to meet him and being in his circle. And, we had some great conversations. But I'm Adam. I've been in the industry 20 years. Really kind of have just a similar background. For those who don't know, I come from trucking. I love trucking, but the thing that I see that needs to be changed more than anything is the overall mindset in trucking right now. And I'm 100% committed to pushing this change forward. And I really, really appreciate the platform that we have here because I believe that what we're doing here is something that's needed. And I believe that, as we continue to push this envelope forward, we'll start seeing those things that we really truly want to see. So Happy New Year, everybody on here. Happy New Year, Amanda. I see you.
Yes, Amanda Miller in the house, my favorite freight broker based in Alabama. Charles Lung is with us. We are very lucky to have Tim Pools here too. I can't believe I haven't had you guys on the show together. Both of you have been on multiple times separate. So when we talk about the rate con topic and I've actually wanted to do this for a while, and my friend Jason was the one who came up with the idea, and he'll be on another show with us. But the rate cons today, I don't only want to talk about the actual documents and the language, but I want it to be like a holistic discussion because there's a lot that goes into the relationship with rate cons and what happens when a rate con is issued and when a carrier gets it, blah, 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 blah. For those of you who do not know, rate confirmations are documents that shippers and brokers push out to carriers to confirm the rate that they've agreed upon. And it sometimes becomes a dumping ground for terms. And I want to show one that I posted about on LinkedIn today because I saw it and it really pissed me off. And thanks, Zeke. So here we have a rate con you can see on the screen, and I'll read it too. It goes into driver must count all freight and report any overages. Driver must arrive on time for all pickups. Driver must notify dispatch of any loading lumber fees. Driver must notify dispatch immediately upon arrival and departure at shipper and receiver. Detention approval requires notification prior to impending delay. In and out times must be on the bill signed by the shipper or receiver. And it goes on and on and on. I saw this RateCon, and I hated it because it felt like a dumping ground for a lot of stuff. But for me, from a legal perspective, Chris and Adam, because when accidents happen on the road, the first thing the plaintiff attorneys get are the bill ladings and the rate cons and all that jazz. And what you see there is you see driver must do all these things. And what plaintiff attorneys can make an argument is you broker or you shipper who wrote in driver must do all this stuff. You're actually the employer of these individuals. You're telling them what to do and you're controlling them. And it's not like you put, hey, the carrier should have done this, or hey, trucking company, you should do this. No, they're saying to the driver. So that's a distinction that I tell all my clients, change that word from driver to trucking company or carriers. And Matt, I already got my wine. Hold on, sorry.
Coffee.
ADD moment.
I got coffee. Sorry.
Coffee, Chris.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee.
I got a kid at home. I'm home. Like my son's at home right now. Like I can't start drinking at noon, 1 o'clock. So he's still got 2 hours of school left. I mean, what if I got to talk
are
to the
you
teacher?
teaching him?
No, he's doing digital, but what if I have to answer a question? I have to be able to accurately work with him.
Okay, I disagree. I think one hand should be coffee and the other one can be alcohol together. And I guess this will be the most important discussion we have all day. So that's my beef, Chris and Adam, with that RateCon. And when I see that, and my other beef is putting a lot of shit in there that's inapplicable or is unnecessary or is like overbearing. Like that one, Z, can you show that one more time? It was like all in caps, and it's just, you see this and you're like, oh God, I hope they pay more for that. I don't know. I'm not a carrier. Adam, is that how carriers think? Or are they just used to this? And
well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I see something like that, that's a broker's way out, and that's a broker's way out from anything that happens within that transit. That's a broker's way out if there's any claims that's posted against that particular shipment. If there's if you don't count these pieces, you have a shortage. That's a broker's way out. And if you could throw that back on the screen, there's a couple of things that really kind of stand out to me on that one. The driver must count all freight. So seriously, how many times, like, even if you think about right now, most of the times when a driver pulls up on a dock, they're not even allowed on the dock to count the freight. So it's a shipper load and count. So it's SCAC. So that, first of all, that's the number one. Number two, driver must arrive on time for all pickups and deliveries. Well, what if I don't? What are you going to do if I don't? Are you going to just say, hey, we're not going to pay you? What does that look like?
It's vague.
And it's super vague. And then the one thing that like, to me, that pisses me off more than anything, excuse my French, but it's the bottom line. Detention approval requires notification prior to the delay. How am I supposed to know that there's going to be a detention delay in there? I've got an appointment time at 1 o'clock. I show up at 12:30. How am I supposed to know that it's going to be an impending delay? All I know is 6 o'clock and my truck's not loaded yet. How am I supposed to know that? One of the things that we always tell our carriers, from a carrier perspective, I don't care what it is, no matter what. And this is one thing that I always tell carriers. Always, just like washing your hands when you use the restroom. Always put in and out times on your bill of lading.
Yeah.
And if the shipper doesn't agree to sign in when you have your in and out times on there, then we got a problem. But more than anything, Chris, you're gonna have your side. You're gonna have your stance from a broker perspective. But in and out times is something that has to go in every single piece of paperwork, no matter what happens. So, Chris, what you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the line items that were listed that bother me. It's the verbiage behind it, because there's no, like, to me, it's like, okay, if there's a case count, it shouldn't be driver must count all of it. It was like, hey, there's a case count on this. You are required to do this, but you're going to know that prior to booking the load. Like, that's not let's slide this in at the last minute to try and protect ourselves. And that's what I don't like from a broker's perspective. I don't like how vague this is. I think there's just too much room for error at this point, because there's just too much like, oh, driver, I told you that you must do this, okay, like if the driver's not on time, then what? I mean, what are you going to do? Like, to me, I'm just all about, you have to be proactive as a broker. You cannot pass along your own inefficiencies onto the drivers to try and protect yourself, because be proactive, call the driver. If there is an impending delay, I mean, if the driver's truly on tracking like you promised your customer, you should already know that, right? So what, I mean, I don't agree with the verbiage of it. I'm not against the line item things that this is what we need done, but this is stuff that I would need to discuss with Adam or a driver or a carrier up front prior to booking.
And that's the stuff that we need to talk about when we're discussing, like, so to me, like when we book the load, before you ask me to say, hey, is this load good with you? All right, cool. Well, before we even dispatch the driver, let's go over this really quick.
Yeah.
So let me just make sure that you're cool with this. Let me make sure you're cool with the fact that your driver is going to have to count every single piece upside down, backwards. Let me make sure that you're cool with this. Make sure you're cool with every time the driver shows up, if he's late, he needs to do this. But if you just stick it in a piece of paper, to me, what that's doing, that's creating an out. And that's honestly, that to me, and I'll just be honest with you, that's distrust. So I'm creating an element of distrust, because now if I don't meet all of these things, then when it's time to go get paid, I'm just like, oh, well, hey, he didn't count every single piece. So I'm sorry, I can't pay you for that particular freight. And that provides the broker or the shipper the upper hand from a legal perspective. So my thing is that if you're going to do that, if you're going to put that type of language in a particular rate confirmation, it needs to be talked about. We have to come to an agreement, because a rate confirmation is an agreement. It's an agreement with myself. And it's not just, so like, for instance, if you was to get a house, right? You buy a house. They're not just going to list all the terms and say, here, sign this, let's close. Like, you're going to go through that closing, and you're going to go through every single line. Hey, you understand this, right? Hey, Cassandra. Hey, Chris. You understand this? You understand that? But it just seems like in this business, there's a lot of little especially with that undertone. So I like how they put it in the fancy blue lettering.
Yeah.
Because they know that detention they know they're wrong for detention. So they put it in blue just to say, hey, this is the way we're going to take care of detention. But when detention time comes, I promise you it's not going to work out that way. I promise you.
We have so many good comments coming in, and I want to get to them.
Timothy Breyer's right there. Like, if the rate con is sent and the cargo is picked up, does that constitute acceptance of all terms of the rate con? There is verbiage of rate cons that say that. If you don't sign it and send it back, but you go in and pick it up, that's on there. And then therefore, it is like that. That's what it is. But I just don't. I mean, I'm just such a, like, not always, like, I was that shady broker. I'm not going to sit here and ever try and put myself on a pedestal, but that, I mean, to me, it's like you got to spell all this stuff out, because otherwise, it is. There's just too much room for error at that point. There's too much room for stuff to kind of fall apart. And then what? Then, I mean, think about this, brokers. It's hard enough to get customers as is. If we do this to a carrier, we try and slide this shit under the rug, and then they don't get the money from us. Who do you think they're calling? All right. They're calling that shipper who they picked up from, or they're calling your customer. How are you going to accurately explain to your customer all of this stuff? Because they're going to send that copy to them. I've had it happen to me in the past. This will happen. So can I be honest with you? Yeah.
I really personally, one of the things I feel like a lot of this verbiage is designed that way, because let's be honest. Some of that stuff is like at 30,000 feet, where a lot of owner operators operate at like 10,000 feet. And I'm not saying that from a standpoint of, from an educational perspective at all. It's just like, hey, from operationally, we operate at this level, and it's written at this level here. And quite frankly, it disgusts me sometimes, because it's like you're taking advantage of the situation. And that particular rate con that Zeke put up there, that one would piss me off more than anything else, because the design of that rate con is just setting you up for failure. All right. You must do this. You must.
Zeke, can you show that again? I'm sorry. I hate this.
Seriously?
I hated this.
All right. So look at this one, right? So driver must notify dispatcher immediately upon arrival and departure at the shipper. All right. So if I don't, then what? And then they said must provide the name and the person who signs for the freight at the time of the delivery. Who? All right. So let me give you. I was a driver, right? And I never did that. I don't have time for that. Like, I tell you, just be 100% honest. I don't have time for that. And the thing about it is that a lot of this stuff is designed to protect one side and not protect the overall the train, which is most important. And when we look at the business and the industry overall, it really looks like it's pushing that protection towards one side to make sure that we always have an out. And the reason why I say that is, I'm gonna give you an example. So as a carrier, right, if I deliver a load on time, I meet all of those things that you put on that rate con. Mm-hmm. And I send it up to the factoring company. In fact, all of a sudden, you know what, factoring company say, hey, you know what, Chris, credit bad. You know what, we can't pay. See if you can get a quick pay or whatever you need to do. Chris has forever to pay me, right? If Chris doesn't pay me, I've got to take out a broker bond. Take out a broker bond, it might take 6 months to get paid. But I'll be damned if I miss a corner of the BOL, or if I send if I'm missing a page. So if it's like 35 pages, like, you know, God forbid it's a grocery warehouse or it's got like 35 pages on the BOL, and I send 34 out of 35 and I'm not getting paid. So now they have an out. So the broker and the shipper actually have an out with that. But then when it comes to the carrier side, there's nothing that protects the carrier on that. It's all one-sided. So that's one of the issues that I have with when it comes to that rate confirmation and when it comes to the beginning. And what we always tell our carriers is that when you're talking about things such as detention pay, that stuff needs to be negotiated up front. If there's any type of term that you're not really sure of. So for instance, if the broker said, hey, you know what? I know we're putting 1 a.m. appointment on this, but you can go in there at any point. Do not sign that rate con unless they put FCFS on it. Because that, if I go in there and I'm going there as an FCFS, which is first come, first serve, and I get there, and then Chris, the yard guy's like, yeah, nah, man, you gotta hang out, you got to hang tight. And 12 hours later, I get loaded, and all of a sudden, there's a discrepancy with over in the load times, and now I'm detained. That's an issue, and that's one of the biggest things that I have is that these rate cons is just like, number one, I think the carrier's got to be more educated. From a standpoint of not necessarily education, right? But really understanding what needs to be in there. But whatever terms that you guys discuss on the telephone, whatever terms that you agreed upon, it needs to be in writing, just like any terms that they're going to put in writing.
Chris, what kind of training do most brokers have around these rate cons and what to type into it and what not to, and what's important and what's not?
No, definitely. I think that from a training perspective, a lot of brokers out there just kind of have like a general rate confirmation that kind of go out there. It should be structured where like the sales and ops manager is the only one who can go in there and like make any changes to it prior. You know, like if there's customer requirements, for example, if you have there's a certain dock door that they need to check in every single time. If you have to make any of those little things, go in there and update that. But again, this kind of boils back down to just a broker being proactive in providing all of this information to the driver and to the carrier. And I just think that the verbiage on a rate confirmation can legitimately, there is a lot of those things in there. And I see that too from a broker's perspective, of just trying to pass the buck and trying to cover for your own inefficiencies. And the one that I never understood is driver must check in, a driver must call broker every 12 hours. I'm calling the driver. I am being it's my customer's freight. It's not the driver's customer's freight. It's my customer's freight. If I'm actively trying to protect this relationship, it'll be notified on there. It'll be, I'll let you know, hey, I'm calling you every 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like that conversation's going to be had, but you can't do that and be like, if you don't answer your phone, you're reduced $50 a missed call or some BS like that. And, it's like, there's a lot of additional stresses that drivers go through out there. They are, I challenge any broker to get with a local trucking company and drive around your nearest major city during rush hour traffic and see how stressful it is for these drivers when they're getting cut off by 75 cars and why they're not answering their phone at 4 p.m. on a Thursday in Los Angeles. So it's like trying to slide this stuff in. Like I said, I'm all about these line items. I'm all about laying this stuff out there, but this is stuff that needs to be discussed prior. Leadership needs to work with their brokers, their sales reps, carrier reps, whatever it is, to ensure we're all on the same page here, because you don't need some hotshot sales rep or broker sliding in this stuff and then leadership doesn't know about it. So I just think that as a broker, you gotta be really smart about this, because we all know the lawsuits that brokers are liable because they gave a driver directions or they told the driver to do this, and then it says on the rate con driver must do this. You're an attorney, Cassandra, you'd eat that shit right up.
I would. And that's the first thing I ask for too when things are up. Okay, so I wanted to go back because there's been a lot of activity in the comments, and some of it's we can't even see. It's over on LinkedIn too. Some of the LinkedIn ones are coming through. Okay, so first let's do this one because I was curious about this one. Andrew Teal. Everybody knows how much I love Andrew Teal.
Cornell.
How does the driver even get told what's? You guys are punks. How often does the driver even get told what's on the Raycon? That's a great question, and I also want to add another dynamic to it, which is especially if there's dispatch. And do you know the answer to this?
Yeah. So
do you know the answer to that, Adam?
Yeah. So that's a communication thing it depends on if they have a third party dispatching them that provides them with the rate confirmation. So if you got a third party that's providing with you that, you need 100% full transparency anyway. However, a lot of times, man, especially and we haven't seen it as much now because the freight market itself has been great. But when you see the freight market tight, we haven't seen just the overall, hey, you know what, I'm going to review this. I'm going to tell you what a driver looks at on a rate confirmation. The pickup address, the delivery address, the time, and the money. That's
really?
all. Everything else is like
that shit we were just looking at is in all caps. How do you miss that?
Nobody reads that. That's just like, you know what? It's like when you download an app on your iPhone. Nobody reads the terms and conditions. Yeah. But the thing about it is if I'm a broker, I'm hiding my terms and conditions in there. I'm hiding all the other stuff in there, but because I know that Cassandra and Chris ain't gonna read the fact that if you want detention time, you need to call me 11 times within 11 hours, and if not on the 12th hour, you don't get paid attention.
Yeah, it's true.
That game that's being played. But the one thing about that is as well is that as drivers, what the thing about it is that when they have to understand when you sign a document, right? A rate confirmation is a legal tender document between a shipper, a broker, and a carrier. It's a legal document. You're tied to it, right? You have obligations to that particular confirmation. If something goes sideways, you're held liable for it. So why don't we take that few minutes out? But the problem is it goes back to one of the things that I hate, and that's these broker carrier agreements that are 35 pages long. Like, they design.
Adam, back in the day, in 2000, like around 2012. I used to have clients hire me, or I worked for a client. I can't remember which one during that time, because the capacity was tight for a long time during that time. So carriers had a lot of negotiation power. So brokers would be like, hey, Cassandra, can you cut down our broker carrier contract? And shippers would ask me to do this too, so that it's only like 2 pages, 3 pages. And they didn't want those asshole terms in there. They wanted it to be equal. As capacity started to get better, then and the carriers had less negotiation power, then lawyers, we tossed in everything in the kitchen sink. And you're right, it's horrible. It's like 35 pages. But I always say that a carrier has decided, an owner-operator has decided to own his or her own business. It's called owner-operator for a reason.
You're right.
And part of that is you're on your own. You got to take care of yourself. You don't have a company or an employer taking care of yourself. So you got to read these documents, and you got to not take shipments or suck it up, because that's the thing.
But what burns me about that, though, and I'll be honest with you, when the industry is focusing on broker transparency and those other things, right? So broker transparency has nothing to do with if I'm not focused on my own business.
Yeah.
That's where I have a really true burning part in my pocket that I that's not our focus. We need to take our owner operators to own and then operate, right?
Yep.
Just operate, because you're no longer just an operator. If you choose to be an owner operator, let's teach you the principles of ownership. And ownership of a business is you got to follow certain things. And the problem is that you can't just say, hey, you know what? Well, I'm been sitting at a shipper for 12 hours and I'm not getting paid attention time. Read your rate confirmation. Find out why we're not getting paid attention time. On the front side, when you book that load that pays you $4 a mile, make sure you ensure that you understand the terms of detention. If I'm a book a load with Chris and me and him have a great conversation, Chris, I'm gonna take that load. But you know what? Hey, Chris, one question for you. Let's talk about if something goes sideways. I sit at the shipper for 13 hours. Tell me what that looks like. Okay, I take what? You know what? Hey, what? What we're gonna do? But this is what Chris is gonna do. He's going to, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? If you sit in the shipper more than 5 hours, I'm going to pay you $300, yada, yada, yada. All right, cool. Do me a favor, Chris. Put that in the rate confirmation, resend it to me, and then we'll be all good.
Yeah. I just think that in those situations, like as a broker, how are you not notifying your customer if there's any delays? How are you not calling the facilities in those scenarios? And I get it. There's times where they're like, hey, listen, we're backed up. Let the driver know. Let the driver know right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't wait. Don't let it get to that point of, because it's like it is. It's like, hey, let's just see if this works itself out here over the next 6 hours. Be proactive about the scenario, because things happen. There's shift changes. They don't know. Maybe the BOL, after the driver checked in, they've misplaced it. Maybe they forgot the driver was there, and they won't know unless you're proactively calling these places. Like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, you guys. Like, this stuff has all happened numerous times. It's probably happened 1,000 times today as we're discussing this right now.
Yeah.
And everything can be solved with communication. All of these can be solved with communication. Every single one of these line items you want to put on your rate confirmation, let the dispatcher know about it prior. Hey, I'm going to proactively tell your driver all of these things as well to ensure all three of us are on the exact same page. And then your problems will slowly start to scale back when you start working with a company like Adam multiple times and you stop posting loads every single day and go through this. Like, that's why it gets to this point, Adam, is because we're playing the spot market every day as a broker. And I get it. Hey, listen, we're all incentivized differently. We're all in this to make money. I understand how a business is structured, but I think that at the end of it all, I want to work with Adam multiple times. So we're on the exact same page. All right. We don't have to have this conversation every single time. I don't have a reason to slide this stuff in there and hope to God you don't see it so I can make an extra $50 on my bonus check. Furthermore, like, these people will work themselves out. Like, that's not going to help this industry out at all. So it's like, if they want to do that, like, keep your $50. There's plenty of ethical brokers out there that will give carriers freight that won't go through this. They will spell all this stuff out.
Chris, I saw this comment earlier. I'm getting buried. I can't keep up with them. But carriers look at these rate cons as the exact instructions. And if they do not do something that is potentially common, they can say, well, it wasn't on the rate con. So is that true?
I've had that happen numerous times. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I have had that happen numerous times. But then again, as a broker, I have to look, is this something that was a failure on my part? Did I not, because, hey, you're a human being. You're going to make mistakes. Own it, like, at the end of the day, and then fix it and move forward. You don't have to continuously wallow in this crap all the time. Like, you can fix this. Yeah.
I think that maybe it's a slippery slope. If you start putting in too much instructions and caps and must, then the carrier is going to use it as like their instructions. And maybe if it's more standard and generic, then maybe they won't. I don't know. Adam, what do you think?
I agree. And then I also disagree a little on that as well. Because, like, there has to be some level of, there has to be a standard in place. Mm-hmm. But it has to go both ways, though. It has to be a standard in place. And then the rate confirmation is the only document that the carrier has to have a level of consistency between me and Chris, right? So if Chris puts in that rate con that, hey, it's 55 boxes on that trailer, you only have to unload 35 boxes, and then I get to the shipper or the consignee, and then they tell me I got to unload 36, I need to call Chris and say, hey, we only agreed to 35. So what do we need to do with this 36 box? Do you want me to leave it on here, or do you want me to unload it and you're going to send me a revised rate con? So to me, like, a rate confirmation, and this is like, I was there, right? I was behind the wheel of a truck. I know what that's like. Like, if you're going to send me a rate confirmation, like, it needs to match up. So one of the things that used to piss me off is that, like, when I go to a shipper and Chris sends me a rate con, say, hey, it's going to be 15,000 pounds of freight. And I get there, it's 45,000 pounds of freight. Now, all of a sudden, no matter what you got on a rate con from a dollar amount, my expense line is going to go up because it's going to consume more fuel. It's going to take me way more time to get there. Now I'm on the phone with Chris. So that, to me, one of the things that is an issue on a rate confirmation is that Chris and his shipper might not be on the same page.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know he has no idea what he's even shipping.
Yeah. No, and I've had, so I've been in that scenario, Adam, where the tenders came across initially at 25,000 pounds, for example. Driver gets loaded, it's 42,000 pounds. I've had that happen. Well, I'm sorry?
That would burn me. That used to burn me.
Yeah, but Adam, shippers don't talk.
Correct. And that's the thing, is there's a big breakdown. And that happens as well, where it's like, hey, they realize that they can add an extra layer of product on there. Their customer changed the order last minute. The truck's there, they're gonna load it up. And like, unfortunately that happens, and like, not all the time, but there is those scenarios where I find out at that time when you go and scale out and you're like, hey, this just happened. And then it's like, oh shit. Okay. Let's try and get this fixed, But it's like, here's one thing, Adam. I've always wondered this, okay? Where what if I tendered you the load at 40,000? Because it was like, here's the thing. Every time, like, if it came in at 25,000, they got loaded at 40, I need an extra $800 on the load. Why did you never, as a carrier, offer me a discount when I tendered it at 40, but it came in at 15,000?
That's the way it works.
I understand. I know it.
You should ask. Okay, Adam, on that note, why don't carriers just, like, I'm a lawyer, I'm worst case scenario all the time. Why don't they just assume they're running 40,000 pounds no matter what? The heaviest it can be, that's what they're always going to run, and just ignore the weight part.
Nah, because it's so much different. Let me tell you, like, driving a truck at 45,000 pounds versus driving a truck at 25,000 pounds is so much different.
That big of a difference? Is it just gas?
Yes, not just that. It beats you up. Like, so for instance, if I'm going across mountain ranges and I'm running across 25,000 pounds, then I might drop 2 gears down and I'm good. I'm rolling. But if I got to run at 45,000 pounds, I'm at 35 miles an hour with my four-ways on, and my temperature gauge is way up. It's beating my truck up, and I'm going to tell you, it beats me up because it takes so much time to do it. 45,000 pounds, y'all, like, seriously. Like, your car, your car is probably 3,000 pounds at the most. When you put 45,000 pounds on a tractor trailer, that's right at 80,000 pounds. Yeah. And it really, and when I tell you it beats your body up, I mean, you're sitting there jerking, and you feel every single pound of it. And that's what drives into driver fatigue, and it fatigues the hell out of your truck. And then when you think about diesel fuel, okay, you know what? The thing about it, if I'm moving at 25,000 pounds, I might get 7.2, 7.3 miles per gallon. I'm winning, because not only did Chris give me a good rate, I'm saving the money on the expense side because I'm not burning so much diesel fuel. But if I'm trying to put your load at 45,000 pounds, and my truck is screaming with my foot on the floor at like 35 miles an hour, then that's when you start eating at my pocket. So now it's eating in my pocket. I can't get to delivery as quickly as I could before. It's just so much that drains on you. Like, and that's the thing. I didn't know that. When a broker doesn't, and I'm not going to say a broker doesn't understand, because Chris understands, he's from the business. But a lot of times you have broker agents. These are kids from college. That's their first job. They have no idea what that's like. They have no idea what that's like. And then when you
and then the shippers tell them to wait, and they don't think about the commodity either. So they wouldn't think to, like, push back on the shipper either.
Right. And the thing is like, okay, you know what? All of a sudden now, and this is being honest with you, I had a plan. Okay, I got 20,000 pounds, man. I can get to you at 3:30, tops. You put 45,000 pounds on me. Okay, you know what? It's probably going to be 6:30, 7 o'clock. Now I won't be able to get empty until the morning. Not in my pockets.
But, okay, Adam, do you still think to yourself, worst case scenario, I should quote this at the max capacity, and just imagine it as max capacity. And if I show up and is the quote that big of a difference?
It's a big difference, man. It's that big of a difference.
Then you're not competitive.
Nah, it's a big difference. Like, I don't like, so one of the things that I like, the only time I ever scaled my truck out when I was hauling is when I'm running beer to come out of
beer. I knew you were going to say beer.
Beer, sugar. Because I'm in South Florida. We have dedicated sugar. The only time I'm letting my truck scale out at 45,000 pounds is beer, sugar, or maybe lead. I mean, I hauled a load of lead before, never again. But, that's the stuff that, and also, too, from a safety perspective, it's dangerous at that weight, man.
It is.
It's hard to control that truck. You coming around curves, you got to have a lot more stopping distance. It's just it's so much different. And I understand what you're saying, like, plan for the worst and then, hope for the best. But that's not the way we want to operate. I don't want to operate like that. I want to run my truck and I want to run my business from a standpoint of where I can be competitive. And then when you throw 45, 46, 47,000 pounds in my face, then I'm like, man, Chris, man, this ain't what we signed up for. We need to do something about this, man. And I'm not just talking about, taking this stuff off my truck. I need more money and I need more time.
Scott says that beer, canned food, water loads, he won't pull them over the mountains, too stressful on my equipment.
Absolutely.
I heard, you want to know what's really weird? I heard that cotton was also heavy.
Cotton is not heavy. Paper is, though. Cotton is not heavy.
Paper, I know, because paper causes accidents when it's improperly loaded.
Yeah, because it's so tall. Yeah, paper.
And if it's improper, the big, huge rolls, like if they're improperly loaded, you can see there's a lot of accidents it causes.
I think what Chris was dangerous for us is, and on that standpoint, when we used to haul foam on flatbeds, because it was just one big old solid cube, and 13.6 tall, and if you go across mountainous, it's going to take every bit of wind, and we've seen rollovers just from a truck going down a highway at 5,000 pounds, and it's rolling a truck over.
Oh, I believe it. Chris, do you think that this couch looks like your grandmother's couch?
100%, yes.
What the fuck, people? I think this is a nice couch. It's like comfy too. I saw somebody in the comments say that. Some jerk called buttered bread. Say something funny. Okay, I'm gonna flip this over so it looks like this is my grandmother's couch. Okay, so we'll there. So we will go back. Somebody else had a comment. Difference is 40K of cotton likely won't fit on a truck to a large load. We got a lot of experts in the crowd today. I think it's pretty cool to hear what they have to say. So now I'm going to give Chris some heat.
Perfect.
Now it's time for besides the couch.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is grandma's couch. I think this
Did
is
you
lovely.
find one of my old Raycons and you've just been waiting for this one? This is from Chris probably 5 years ago.
Okay, someone messaged me and they wanted me to bring up when brokers will agree on a rate. And then in the Raycon, he said, they will break down the pricing and it won't really be what they included. And he said that let's see, hold on. Because he was pretty angry. It was a pretty angry message about how brokers play around with rates and then break it down in the Raycon. Is this starting to sound, I promise you, this has nothing to do with you. This isn't a ambush because you're not working at a company.
It'd be funny if it was.
Like back in 2005, Chris, I found one of your old Raycons. But have you ever heard of anybody playing like games like that? They would say, hey, yeah, we told you the line haul will be $700, but we told you the rate would be this, but here's the line haul, here's a lumper, here's this, and this.
I've had to reprimand my staff for doing that because it was brought to my attention that, because here's the thing. I've had plenty of carriers who are like, hey, listen, here's our line haul. Can you break out fuel? I don't know if it was your factoring or for your accounting purposes as a carrier, but I've had plenty of carriers who are like, hey, can you break apart this after the load delivers? I want fuel line item and I want accessorials line item out for themselves. In regards to a broker agreeing for $4,000 for a load, but it's $3,000 line haul, $1,000 if it's driver drives on time.
Right.
I have had to reprimand and almost fire some of my staff for doing that stuff because essentially all you're doing is padding your bonus check. And that is any major, or at least the brokers that I've worked for in the past are 1,000% against that. They will bring that up. They will fix that. You just have to go above the rep in that scenario. I cannot tolerate that under any circumstances. I'll line item it out for you after the load delivers for your accounting purposes, but an all-in rate is an all-in rate. There's no strings. There's no backdoor strings that are attached at that point. That disgusts me.
What do you mean by beefing up the bonus?
Well, no, it's like, hey, listen, if I break it apart where, now this fine creeps in. Well, now my margin went up to 1,500 as opposed to 1,000 or whatever that was, because now that the driver was 20 minutes late, I reduced his rate and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. I had, on that note, you guys, I get this question all the time. It's incredibly important. And it comes, actually, Jason Z. Whoa, Did you guys see that Vitaly bought us a drink? Chris, there's a question for you.
Beard oil? I don't use any. This is natural.
I don't either. So like, I don't know if anybody about that.
You guys have beard combs?
Yeah.
I don't even have a beard.
The question was, what kind of beard oil does Chris Jolly use? You've got a little something there, Adam.
It's yeah,
Comb?
it's juvenile. It's a juvenile thing. One thing I will say. So can I say something about what Chris just said?
Yes.
One of the things that I hate is when they put incentives in a rate confirmation, and the worst incentive on a rate confirmation is on-time delivery.
Oh, look, my little brother's here.
They'll put a rate confirmation in there, and it'll pay $1,000 on a line haul. But his on-time delivery is a $200 incentive, and macro points is $200. So now we got a $1,400 load. That's really a $1,000 load unless you accept those other two. The thing that I hate more than anything is that, okay, you know what? What happens if you have a breakdown? What happens if you have traffic? Whatever. Oh, you know what? The broker's like, yeah, you know what? I was just kidding about the $200. So it kind of puts some.
Oh.
There's a little bit of shadiness in that. I hate that. Don't do that. Like, if we're going to agree on a load, I mean, that's one of the things that we tell our carriers all the time. If you're going to agree to a load, that's line haul, period. It's point A to point B. Don't give me that, hey, on time BS, because things happen. Like, it's not a perfect world. Like, things.
Okay, wait. What if they didn't? What if they did bonuses are listed, but then penalties are also listed too?
Penalties like what? Give me a penalty.
Penalty is, you're more than 3 days late. We're going to dock off whatever amount of money.
And that's acceptable. That's different. But don't give me a bonus. Don't say, hey, I'm going to pay you $1,400. But on that rate confirmation, it's $1,400 only if you have $200 on time and you meet your macro points bonus. And Chris, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They'll say, hey, you know what? Here's your line haul, $1,400. But then you get the rate confirmation. It's $1,400 because it's $1,000 plus $200 on time and $200 on macro points.
Oh, okay.
Brokers, if you want a driver on tracking and it is required, do not send rate confirmation until driver has accepted tracking. It's a very simple concept, you guys. Like, this is not that difficult.
Oh my God, I'm learning so much. Because it does, I have seen multiple rate cons that will say, you get a penalty if you must agree to tracking. And if not, then you get a penalty. And they kind of try to just push it into the rate con. There are a lot of people who have made comments and questions. Zeke, while I look for one comment, will you look for Ron Kane? A while ago, Ron Kane, who's very famous. Yep. It's right, Jolly. He asked a question. I just can't find it. I want to show something that Amanda Miller said, which is, I work with someone who does this. For example, the load pays $1,000, but up to $500, but $500 up front, then $500 for delivery.
That's BS.
I wanted to ask about that.
But that's what we're talking about. So they'll sit there and they'll tell you, hey, yeah, we'll pay a load. We'll pay you $1,000, but $500 until this takes place. But I get it from a delivery perspective, and I get what the broker's trying to do. They're trying to cover their side, and they may have. And I'm not gonna even lie. I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my neck. If I'm a broker and I've got an important customer that I've been working my ass off to get this customer, I'm taking a chance with Chris because Chris just got a brand new MC. He just getting started. I'm gonna take the chance with him, but listen, I need you to make sure that you don't make a fool out of me. I need you to be on time, because if you're not on time, you're not going to see this full rate. So I have to do stuff like that, and I get that. But at the same time, to me, it's a shady practice, because if you really want to put somebody on your customer that needs to be on time, then find a carrier that shows you the best service.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. I wouldn't do a brand new carrier if it was that important. Give toilet paper that you don't give a shit about. Actually, we care about toilet paper now.
We do. We have to.
We should. I'll think of something else, I don't know, goldfish food
or couches,
yeah, couches. Yeah,
Adam?
Very important. 1970s.
Adam?
Where's the plastic? Did you take the plastic off before the show?
Unbelievable! I think this is a lovely. Look at that. There's circles and it's this. Oh my God, you guys are assholes. Now I'm gonna flip this over because I'm insecure. So, fucking Adam, I actually thought you were on my side.
I am.
Okay. Of course. So Jason, I couldn't find his comment, but Jason, we all know Jason. He's been on the show many times. Jay-Z, because he's legal like I am. So he asked a loaded question, which he already knows the answer to, because he knows the answer to all this stuff, which is, can I get in trouble for putting a late fee in the rate con? So if you show up late, you get deducted like $250. So Chris, so what he's referencing is the driver coercion laws, regulations. And you guys know that became a big thing. Before I go into the answer, Adam, do any truckers actually use that driver coercion shit?
I mean, if it's
did it make that big of a difference? Like,
no.
That was weird when that came out.
No, it's almost like you don't even know where to go with it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And, it goes back to our original conversation. You got 30,000 foot conversation. You got kind of like 1,000 foot stuff. It kind of takes place way up there. And at the end of the day, the driver just wants the bottom line, man. Just wants to get paid, man.
We have JC Fetter in the house. I haven't seen JC in a long time. Oh, there he is. This is JZ. JC was also here too in the house. Okay, so why I mentioned that is that there are regulations. They came out, I don't remember, 5 or 6 years ago, where you can't penalize a driver. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it all in front of me. And I'm also drinking a little too much wine.
It's a lot of wine.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for that comment. You want to say anything else about my couch?
No.
Or my bad luck?
No, ma'am. No.
It's
North
next
Carolina.
exit.
Okay, so
Next exit, is that couch going up for raffle? How much is it?
next exit
That is
logistics.
funny.
Thank you. Next exit logistics, who used to make really great comments throughout the entire time. So clean and simple answer is that as long as brokers and shippers are not penalizing drivers and are not telling drivers one-on-one conversations or through the rate con saying, if you are late or if you don't violate the regulations, the hours of service regulations, you will get a fine. That's what it's targeted toward. You're okay putting late fees in there. Just don't direct it toward drivers. It's between you and the carrier. Technically, these rate confirmations are between you, broker or shipper, and the carrier, as in the company, not a driver.
What if it's an owner operator though? In that scenario,
but the owner operator is a trucking company.
Okay, just to explain that out there, because that could be easily confused.
Okay. Just so you know, Chris, this is the most common question I get and the most common confusion in our industry is owner operators or independent contractors who sign on to other MC numbers. They are owner operators, so they are supposed to have their own company and operate like their own company. So even if it's them, it's between a trucking company, right?
For sure.
Because they are a trucking company. Now I want to take a step back, because technically an owner operator doesn't have his or her own authority. They have a company. They registered under some state. But wait, hold on, Adam. Technically, they may have an authority over here. But when you're an owner operator, the pure legal definition is you are an independent owner of a company. You're going to run a load under somebody else's.
I disagree. Because the only reason why I say that, Cassandra, is because if I buy a truck and I file my own motor carrier authority and I decide to run my business as a single truck owner, I'm an owner operator. I'm not running under anybody. So I am an owner operator. I own my truck and I'm operating my truck, right? So I'm owning the truck. I own the truck outright and I'm operating under my own MC. Who's MC? Whose motor carrier am I under? Who am I operating under? I'm not operating under anybody's MC.
I think she froze.
She's frozen, and she's frozen with a mad face too.
I know.
She's like, you see how she's looking? She's like,
I know. It's kind of funny. Take a picture of that.
Cassandra, you're frozen. Zeke, Cassandra's frozen.
Oh, there we go.
Are you back?
Is it me?
Yes.
Fucking grandmother's couch and grandmother's internet.
So okay. Let me go back to my point, Cassandra. If you go buy a truck right now, right? You listening? If you buy a truck,
I'm listening.
If you buy a truck right now, you have a CDL right now, you decide to file your MC and DOT number right now and say, you know what, I'm not going to hire Chris as a driver. I'm going to drive it myself. You are an owner operator.
No, you're not, Adam. You're a trucking company.
You're an owner operator.
No, you're not. You're a trucking company. Legal definition, Adam. Legal. Not you guys in the industry all yapping at each other like you and Chris do all the time. This is legal. So if you're an owner operator.
So who's the operator?
Running under somebody else's DOT number and you're leasing it back to them.
So who's the operator at that point? If I buy a truck.
You're the owner and you're the operator.
Thank you.
Wait, shit! Now you're getting me all confused. Damn you, Adam!
Record that. Cut that out.
You agreed with exactly what I said.
Just finish it.
Okay, wait. Back up. All right, hold on.
You agree with me?
Adam, no, I do not. Literally, you're lucky this is virtual cooler. Knuckle sandwich. Okay, so I'm sorry, the couch comments are like really bothering me right now because they won't stop. Okay, so Adam.
Yes.
You're an independent truck owner if you're running a load under your own MC number and you own it. You're only an owner operator when you're running under somebody else's MC number. And you own and operate the equipment, not the MC number, not the DOT number.
That's clear as mud, and that's from an so when I think about that, so execution wise, that is something that needs to change because the interpretation of that is completely off. If I own a truck and if I operate the truck, that's me. I can be a trucking company, but I can own it as well. It's just like if I cut grass, if I go buy a lawnmower and decide that I want to start a landscaping company, I own it and I also operate it. So I'm operating it as well as owning the company. So when you think about the definition of owner operator, I'm owning and operating. How do I own a truck and I operate the truck as well? I can do that under my MC. I don't have to do it under yours.
Adam, I'm talking about the legal definition.
I know.
You can call it whatever the fuck you want to.
I know.
Calling it owner operator, call it owner operator. I'm just talking about the legal definition.
But you know what? And the thing about that is, that's what we. And so when you think about industry change, those are the things that we think about. Like that's the things that we got to fix those gaps in overall interpretation. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not. But these are the things in interpretation that
you kind of are, right? You just spent the last 5 minutes disagreeing.
But this is the issue. These are the things, the loopholes that are in this industry that get by so much that screw people.
Oh, you know a really good one? Next Exit Logistics, which is now I have decided is on my dog list. I hate them. I hate Next Exit Logistics and I love them at the same time. But he said something, or she said somebody, whoever's in charge of that account, said something about on the rate con, they put in all caps, no double brokering. Why they have to put that, I don't know. But dispatchers. I actually think it's a great idea. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a really great idea to have that on there in like red, all caps. It's a great idea, right? But double brokering is another one of those industry misconceptions, too. Everything is double brokering. Everything's double brokering here and there and there. And it's actually good.
I was going to say, I think what Next Exit is talking about right here is when you say I broker a load to Adam and he has his family member or whomever take the load that's not actually under his authority, but he's finding loads for him. And like, I've helped him out in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've ran.
Or how about this, Chris? They'll tell me, Cassandra, we didn't double broker it. It just went to our owner operator.
Correct.
Adam, that shit happens all the time. And I'm like, it's not an owner operator. Sorry, Chris. It's not an owner operator. If it's under, if it's under somebody else's DOT number, it's DOT number. You got to follow the DOT number.
And see, that's why I'm saying like that's an issue. That's the issue. That's not okay. Like, because again, that's 30,000 feet of interpretation versus a 10,000 foot situation. Like that stuff needs to change. And those are the things like, okay, that's a loophole that I'm gonna get by, and I hate that. That sucks. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And the thing about double brokering, honestly, double brokering is an issue. I get it, and double brokering happens a lot in the industry. But it's not from it's an owner operator, yada yada yada. It's when you got dispatch companies or you got a third party that gets involved.
We love Florida.
House look better?
Is this Grandma's? It's
No.
a pillow with the state of Florida on it. Actually, I accused my friend of having something dirty on it, but she said it was the state of Florida. Just like to let you guys know. So, okay, end of the day, Adam's wrong, Cassandra's right. And Chris is
That
here.
came
We're
out of
not
nowhere.
working very well.
I'll take that. I'm okay with that. That's fine.
And so, Chris, what
Yes.
are your recommendations? What's your training? What are your big no-nos? What do you want to do to take away with rate cons or anything related to rate cons?
I just think anything that you put out there for your carriers to agree to, you need to have a verbal discussion of it prior. You need to let them know and spell it all out there. I'm not against line items. I'm not against fees, fines, whatever you want to call it, as long as they are aware of it prior to accepting the load. I have a problem with slipping those things in afterwards. I have a problem with changing line hauls to show on-time penalties and all that other shit. I think that's garbage. It's terrible practice, and it's eventually going to come back to bite you in the ass. I think that if you have these up for conversations, let them know. Let the dispatchers know. I'm going to talk to the driver and explain all of this to them as well. Are you okay with that? Put out these little things. That's a red flag. If they have a problem with you even speaking to the driver, chances are they're not going to go on tracking. Chances are they're not going to do some other things. But the carriers out there that you want to partner with, they're going to be cool with you. Hell, those dispatchers have 25 trucks. They're completely fine with you calling their driver and going through it with them. I've never had any pushback with that. I just think that at the end of the day, if you're a broker and you're out there, have these conversations up front so everybody is in agreement prior to accepting the load.
I love it. Adam, what's your key takeaway?
If you're a carrier, don't sign.
I don't know yet. You're I knew you were going to say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you're a carrier, don't sign it until you agree to all the terms, until it makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. Point blank, period. I'm not signing a rate confirmation that's going to pin me at the end of the day. I've seen rate confirmations that'll come out there where the reefer temperatures are wrong, and all of a sudden it's my fault because you know what? The shipper wanted it at 36, and then when you gave me a rate confirmation instead it had it at 34, like don't sign it unless you have a clear understanding on what's going on. The terms are understood, and don't sign a rate confirmation unless the detention terms are talked about, because that's one of the biggest issues. Don't put it in bold that you're going to say, hey, this is the terms of the detention. I don't agree with that. Let's talk about it. Let's say, hey, you know what? If I'm here for 6-7 hours, okay, not only do I want to put detention on there, I want to put layover on there just as well. So if your machine breaks now, I want to make sure that my driver is covered also. And let me give you the last one. And I'm sorry, I get passionate about this stuff. Your stupid tow news, your $150 news, where I have to drive 3.5 hours to come pick your load up and sit all day, where I lost out on about $1,500 just because I was fooling around with your load. Your $150 tow news is not going to do it for me. Let's talk about that up front.
So for those who don't know what tow news are, could you tell everybody?
Truck order not used. You book a load that's paying $2,700 going 300 miles. You got a deadhead 250 miles across on it, right? So you go 250 miles to go pick up the load. You get to the shipper, and it's like, you know what? We're not going to load your truck because your truck's orange. We only want to load blue trucks. Hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So now I wasted the entire day. Yeah. It's 4:00 in the afternoon, so I'm trying to call brokers right now with freight, and they're like, yeah, no, I'm done for the day. So I'm stuck, and I'm at to sit a full day. So a tow news is when they go in and tell you truck order not used. Hey, you know what? Just for your time, hey Cassandra, here's $150. $150 doesn't even like dust my truck off. Saying when it comes in this industry, it costs me way more than that to rate my truck. Don't do me no favors and paying me $150 on a tow news. Make sure that in the beginning, y'all, as shippers, and I know I'm probably taking way more time than I should, but make sure as a shipper, not a shipper, as a carrier, you agree to the terms that you need to agree to. You have a clear understanding of what's in that rate confirmation. And Cassandra, in the bold letters, I'm going to ask you questions about it. Hey, what does this mean? Hey, what does that mean? Hey, what does that fall into that? And if you don't agree with it, you don't have to take the load. Simple as that. Don't feel like you have to take it. You have the opportunity to do something different. Walk away, live to fight another day.
I want everybody who's here with us today, apparently this is a very popular panel, so tell these two folks reach out to them, tell them what else you want them to come back and talk about. And we'll do another session with these two experts. And you guys are really fun. I wish you guys were with us next Friday. I already have too many people next Friday. Next Friday, we're talking about. Yes, you always are, Chris, because you're always teaching us, whether it's through comments, through your posts, through your podcast, everything. I'm learning from both of you constantly, except for Adam. One day.
Just had to get this in.
Adam, one day you need to wear a t-shirt. I need you to wear a t-shirt. I need you to mess your hair up a little bit.
The t-shirt says Cassandra's couch.
I'll get you a Cornell shirt, bud.
Jolly, you're about to get punched. I thought you guys would be great guests. Now I'm completely regretting this whole episode. Next Friday, y'all tune in because we've got experts that are going to tell us are we being paid what we're worth? Chris, are you being paid what you're worth? Adam, are you being paid what you're worth? And we're all going to analyze that. And then we're going to talk about different ways of compensation and how to negotiate it from both an employer's perspective and an employee perspective. So I hope you guys come back. I think this is going to be one of my favorite episodes, minus all the asshole comments. I'm going to actually ask Zeke to go back and delete all these parts out and illuminate me and my beautiful couch. All right, happy Friday. Thank you both very, very much. And we can end